Hey everybody, welcome to Myopia Movies. This week, in honor of the holiday season, we are doing something a little strange. I don't think I'd technically call this a movie, but we are talking about the infamous Star Wars Holiday Special, which despite George Lucas not liking it, Disney seems to not care because it's pretty widely available on YouTube now. But feel free to watch it with us. It was a good old recording, but since the movie makes no sense, the recording probably makes even less sense. But in the meantime, thanks for all you do, thanks for supporting us, and we hope you have a happy new year. Bye, everyone. Happy holidays, ladies and gentlemen, because this week we have a holiday special for you. We are going to introduce new characters you're going to love in cartoon format. We're going to tell you about family members that disappear the minute it's turned off. We're going to have a grandpa watch a sexual fantasy where a woman sings at him while he struggles with his erection. And of course, we're going to end with Art Carney. I'm Nick Hoffman, your hostess with the mostest. And on panel we have...
I'm Lauren, and I too, when I think of Christmas, I associate it with Star Wars.
I associate it with erection.
Candace here from Cineprov, the Rocky Horror Picture Show at the Plaza, hosting Monday Night Geek Trivia at Felix's, and overall, here to please.
Hello, this is Daniel, contributor to popdose.com, frequent annoyance of Nick on this very podcast, and
love you, buddy.
I personally use my Oculus to watch softcore porn as well.
I'm Atlanta author Matthew W. Quinn, and you should check out Lindsay Broker's Fallen Empire series, and don't bother with this because it sucks.
Oh,
spoilers!
Matt's coming down on the "it sucks" category.
It's boring. It's not even dumb.
You're jumping ahead, Matt. You're jumping ahead. The kids don't even know about it yet.
Yeah, you can't skip to the blowjob scene right away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta work it up and get those eyes going.
Is that it?
So, smash cut to Han Solo being mildly distressed by B footage, followed by 11 minutes of nonsense.
Literally grunts.
So,
for
those of you who don't know, this holiday special came out after Empire, but before Return of the Jedi.
No. Star Wars holiday special yet?
Okay, so this is the Star Wars holiday special, and Daniel's raising his hand because I'm a teacher and he wants to be called on.
Yes. Well, thank you there, Mr. Teacher, sir.
First of all, it's Dr. Teacher, sir.
Dr. Teacher, sir. Excuse me.
Dr. Nick.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Hi, everybody.
It came out before Empire.
It came out before Empire, so
I think it
between
was in
Star
78.
Wars and Empire.
So it was released in 1978, and it originally aired on November 17th of 1978. So this was 1 year following.
Happy Thanksgiving from the age of disco.
That's right.
No, can I say all the 70s stuff did make me happy? Like when I watched it, they showed like the original advertisement for General Motors that sponsored this.
Oh,
and
okay.
So beyond 70s, it's ridiculous.
So Lauren, that brings up a question. Which version? You saw a version with a General Motors commercial.
Yes.
Did any of you, the rest of you, have commercials? Because unfortunately, artfully, someone removed all the commercials. I wanted to
Not
see
on
Jimmy
YouTube?
Carter.
I saw them.
No. There's like 8 versions on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh.
I saw the one that was, I think, broadcast in Ohio and no commercials.
Yeah, so I got the intros, like, and this episode of Star Wars Holiday Special is brought to you by... And then it cuts to black and then comes
The
back.
Incredible Hulk will be canceled tonight.
That's right.
That's what I saw.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
And I'm running for a second term.
Mine did not have commercials, but that's because I watched it on DVD that I purchased in 1999 in the dealer's room of the basement of the Marriott at Dragon Con, when the entire dealer's room used to be one floor basement in the Marriott.
And you can actually just walk right.
I know. I thought I saw your nipples shining.
And you can actually walk right in instead of the line going around the building 6 times.
Through, and they would push all the stars in the back, and it was so hot they would like pass out from heat stroke. And then you would buy porn and bootlegs, and that's where I got.
Yeah, you have a special knock. You gotta do.
Are you
I
telling
have a little
us?
confession to make to y'all. I am a Star Wars fan, big Star Wars fan, but I
Sure.
never seen this until now because I was scared to.
Oh, I hadn't seen
You're
it.
right to. You're right to be terrified.
I had heard such horror stories and such horrible things that I just have always stayed away from it until Nick made me watch this.
I'd only ever
Anyway,
seen reviews of
This
it on
was
YouTube.
my first time seeing it. I don't
It
know
was
about
mine
you.
too.
Okay.
I've seen it lots of times, and
Okay.
I had to watch it again last night with Chris, my husband,
Sure.
and he actually saw it on air when it aired because he's much older than me, and he was very excited for us to watch it because, as he told me, and I'll talk about this later, at 78. They were so thirsty for anything more
yeah.
Star Wars.
Right.
This was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And,
Oh,
and you know,
Jesus.
it's again, now we're saturated with Star Wars, but there was nothing. So they were literally grasping anything they could.
Well, and so when I watched it last night with my wife in front of the show, Zach, that's kind of what I was saying. I'm like, can you imagine it's around Thanksgiving and your kids have watched this movie the year before that they absolutely loved, and you're just like, fine, you open a Schlitz or a Schaefer's, and you're just like, let me watch this with you, and it's like an hour 40, hour 38, and so broadcast it's 2 hours,
Right.
and
Right.
you're just melting into your couch. You're like, what have I done wrong? This is Jimmy Carter's fault. Like, I don't even know what you must have thought in 1970 because this is just nonsense. And again, you have handsome Harrison Ford, strong John going, don't worry, buddy, we'll get you home for the holidays. And then there's 7 minutes of nothing.
Well,
There's just 7 minutes
There's a
of
prolonged
nothing.
sequence where it's Chewbacca's father, Itchy, his wife, Mala, and his son,
Lumpy.
who's comes off me as a fat, obnoxious
Mala
middle
is
school boy.
Mala is Chewie's wife.
yes.
His wife?
Yeah.
Mala is the wife.
Mala
yes.
is the wife of
Good.
Chewie, not.
Mala is the wife, played by a man, and
Itchy is the grandfather.
grandfather, and then
then
Lumpy is the
Lumpy
child
is
who's
the
played
son.
by a woman, by the way. You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay, well,
And,
whatever.
And Itchy played by himself. As himself.
Whatever
That's what the
No,
credits do.
no, they all got credited except
Except
for
R2D2.
R2D2. If I was
Fucking
Kenny
bullshit.
Baker, I would punch someone in the
I
fucking
would
throat.
too.
Actually, in the dick.
Yes, that's about how he would
Actually,
reach.
that's
He wasn't in the suit. They just rolled it out.
He
Okay,
got no
well,
credit.
whatever
Everyone
combinations
so
of
pissed.
ge-
R2D2 as R2D2.
well-
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, whatever combinations of gender and age and species these things are, there's a 10-minute long sequence where they talk only in Wookiee and
Yeah.
there's no subtitles.
Exactly.
And looking at Sunsy, he's about to jump in because I haven't done the plots enough. There's no fucking plot.
There is no plot.
It's a variety show.
That's not true.
There
There
is no
is
plot.
a
It's a
plot.
variety
Here,
show.
let me give the plot. Here's the plot. The plot is
The My
It
Pillow
is-
guy shows up as an Imperial stormtrooper
exactly.
and wants to
that
capture
the
them.
plot is on the Wookiee planet, which that's what it's called in the show,
Kashyyyk.
but it later will be called Kashyyyk. They didn't have a name for it yet. They are celebrating Life Day, and so
Life
Han
Day.
is trying to get Chewie home in time for Life Day. And of course, Chewie's family is busy at home trying to prepare for Life Day, and they're all very worried that he's not there. And so we have lots of interactions with other characters that Mala is reaching out to, trying to find out if they know if he will be home in time for Life Day. And so there is a plot. I'm not saying it's a good one, but it does exist.
They never explain
will
what
also
Life Day
say-
is. Never, not once.
Life Day is Life Day. All right? If you got to explain it, you
Celebrating
can't
life.
celebrate it.
You're celebrating life.
All right? It's Christmas, it's Hanukkah, it's Thanksgiving.
Yom
Although I
Kippur.
clocked it just out of curiosity. You don't see Luke Skywalker until well into 15 minutes.
And you
Un-
see
also-
his eyeliner before you see him.
Under
I was gonna say,
pancake
also he's
makeup.
filming a shampoo commercial somewhere else because the makeup's wrong, the hair's wrong.
Everything's
It's like,
wrong
well-
about it.
oh, Mala.
Oh, according-
Don't worry, he'll be home soon.
Try to enjoy
according
your
to
life
the-
today.
At least he was
Let me
nice
see
to
you
her.
smile. That's better.
According
My
to the
God.
IMDb, it's because Mark Hamill was in a car accident like a month before filming, and they just
Which is why
covered him in makeup.
Well, which is why in Empire it starts out with him being attacked
By a
Because-
Wampa, yeah.
by
Right.
the Wampa because they need to explain it. Irving Kershner, which again maybe we'll do next season. Next season's the big 10-0, so we'll figure it out.
Did you just call him Ian Kirshner?
Isn't it Irving?
It's Irwin, I think.
Irwin
I swear
Kershner.
it's Irving.
That's right.
But he was a professor that was at the school at the time that George was there. He's like, so Hey, bud, can you direct this one for me? The last one ended my marriage, so whatever.
Well, George Lucas wanted nothing to do with this.
We were both wrong. It's Irvin without the G.
Okay. And
Obviously.
George Lucas wanted nothing to do with this. By the
Well,
way.
and he buried it after it came out. Like, that's why all of us watched different versions, because the versions we saw were recorded by, like, some Betamax machine off the TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was never released, never has been released. In fact, the only thing I think that is close to an official release is that they got the rights to do it for riff tracks as you're listening at the previous Christmas.
I think the animated Boba Fett was on Blu-ray or something at one point.
It was. It was an extra on the Star Wars Blu-ray set, but that's the only thing anyone at Lucasfilm seems to acknowledge.
To quote a much better movie, Serenity, you can't stop the signal. You know, this
Ah,
will
there
live
you
forever
go.
on YouTube, and George Lucas can't do shit.
And I learned that this is when you first meet Boba Fett.
This is the first time he appears on
You need to
screen.
establish that.
And he's a
this
lot-
is where he is first introduced as a character.
By the way,
He's
my wife lost her absolute mind when they showed C-3PO in that thing.
Ah.
He has a light bulb for a head and is attached by, like, the thinnest of, like, tethers.
And he blinks.
And yet Anthony Daniels still made it work because that's how he do.
Well, and also, Anthony Daniels and Mark Hamill are the only people doing voices very clearly.
Yeah.
It's quite something.
Knowing, well, I don't know the guy, but knowing Harrison Ford's reputation, I'm sure he was just too grumpy to get into a voice booth.
He was like, "This is nonsense.
Yeah.
I have other things to do."
At this point, toward the end, I was just running it on like 1.5 speed to get it over with.
Oh, really? No, I sat in my.
sat and watched all of it.
I'm Catholic. I'd feel guilty.
Yeah, I was you beat me to it. I was gonna bring up penance. What you assigned this as penance for something? You know, instead of 5 Hail Marys, it's watch the Star Wars Holiday Special.
So it reminds me of the fun fact of this. When you're saying that, is Carrie Fisher has said, I've looked this up, has said this several times, that she would use this as a way to make people leave her house. When she was having a party, when she was having a party and she wanted the guests to leave, she would start playing this to make them get the fuck out. So it was kind of their penance.
Other than the fact that she's wearing the wiggiest wig that has ever wigged.
Worse than the House of the Dragon wigs? Because I heard those were terrible.
Nothing is worse than the House of the Dragon Wings. Why do you have this budget, but you don't have 6 girls who can do hair? Come to Riverdale. We have them. We will help you.
But Carrie wanted to sing, and that
Well,
was
I
the
was
only
gonna say-
reason she agreed to this. Was
Well,
because
but
she
her
had a song
song-
she wanted to sing.
I was gonna say her song is good.
Her song-
Every other time she's on stage, she's so drunk she can't stand.
You think that's
She's
what
like,
it is? She's drunk?
I guess.
well, it's either that or blow.
I guess
But
she wanted
she's
to be
like
her
leaning
mother.
on
She's
things,
totally
she's like,
fucked up the whole
you.
I mean,
Like,
she's really dismissive of Mala, too. It's really hard. She's like, can someone else come to the phone?
Not.
Someone
Parents
else.
were. Her parents were. She has a good voice. I was actually impressed.
She's not as dismissive as Art Carney is in this special, where he literally tells Mala, "You'd look prettier if you smile."
dude, he's that guy on the bus. Also, I will say though, Art Carney and Harvey Korman and B. Arthur are the 3 who actually show up for this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Holy hell!
I did not know B. Arthur was in
You
this.
didn't know?
It
Oh, shit, it's
blew
great.
my mind.
And she's closing down the tavern, and she has a number, man.
This is it's a variety show. It's also a musical. Like
Yeah.
B. Arthur has a musical number. There's the Jefferson Starship shows up at one point.
And so, ladies, gentlemen, if you're trying to get intimate with your special friend, just know that there's a smooth jazz version of the Cantina theme somewhere that B. Arthur sings over. And if you could just, I mean, first of all, that's hot enough as it is. But it or just instrumental, dude, it's just like a slow jam. Seal might as well be singing over it. Like, it is fucking
I
hot.
remember it sounded.
A kiss from a Sarlacc, Seals version.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
She has
Kiss
blonde
from
hair.
a Java.
She pours liquid into a guy's head. I mean,
That's
Dude.
Harvey Korman that she's pouring liquid into.
Harvey Korman is like an 8 scene. Like, I don't know why
Yeah,
he
he's
showed
also
up.
the chef. The
He
chef
is.
of
Okay.
drag.
the
You wanna-
drag chef.
The
You
drag
wanna hear
chef,
some- you guys
which, by
wanna
the
find-
way, is the best part of this whole.
You guys want to find?
Trying to copy the recipe is insane. What's up, Sunsy?
All right, I'm gonna go call a timeout right now. I think everyone's talking over each other, which is gonna make this very hard to edit.
Okay.
You're fine. I'll edit
Okay,
this
here's
one.
some-
Just
something I
release it
learned.
as is.
Bay Arthur's character is now part of the new canon.
Beatrice Arthur.
Beatrice.
Oh, yeah.
They credit her as Beatrice.
Beatrice.
Is she really?
Can we
Yeah,
can
she's
we
like
stop
part of
real
an
quick?
Slavery underground on Tatooine or something.
Can we stop
Yeah.
real quick and count back in? And Matt, Great point. I think I'll make it easier.
Go ahead, Matt.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Today I learned, or actually yesterday or the day before, that they actually brought in at least some of the characters of Star Wars Holiday Special into the new canon.
Really?
Like Bay Arthur's character is part of an anti-slavery underground on Tatooine.
Or
God,
Lumpy, his son.
He was part of the old canon and the new canon.
Yeah.
Well, and also because
I don't know about
there's a character called Boba Fett. I don't know if you've heard about.
And I don't know about Itchy.
I don't think you'll last.
Maybe Itchy blew a gasket or VR porn machine. Yes, there's one in this.
Can we
Do you
talk
think-
about how Itchy does softcore porn in this? It's amazing.
In the middle of his living room with his
We
grandson
can.
around.
So let's go.
Making with Diahann Carroll and making all these grunts and
There were a lot of grunts. Now, where did he get this?
Yeah,
Let's go back.
Not Archie Bunker sold him a VR porn machine.
Yeah.
I
You
can
keep
feel
calling him
my
Archie-
place.
So a few moments.
I find you adorable. Like, what the fuck?
Dear,
Okay.
hello.
Experience.
I find you quite good at
Experience.
turning me on.
Like, I was not expecting that. Again, my first
Are you
time
just
seeing
quoting your yearbook entry? No.
I was not expecting that.
Yes.
My first time seeing it, I was like, wow.
Yes. Now
No.
he gets
He's
this though
like
from the
my
trader.
grandson, but, like,
Yeah.
the kid who watched that porn and
That's right. We get this from the trader though. So we've left him out. And we've talked about everyone's showing up. So Son Diahann is the local trader, and he is the one who they originally contact asking if you've heard from Han and Chewie. He goes yes. He gives them a very special code stating that they'll be there soon. And then Mala, of course, starts to prepare the meal because now she's been given comfort that he's coming. That's where we first see the scene with her doing the chef and drag, which is hilarious.
There's a cooking special.
Yeah.
Well, and also, let's make it
It's
clear.
not just any cooking special. It's the most famous cooking special on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, another thing we just have to emphasize here is no English is spoken except for these side characters we're talking about.
Correct.
And so you're just listening to modulated, because it's Chewbacca sounds, which is just, dogs and such.
Yeah.
But they pitch them up for his wife, down for the dad, and even higher for the son, who also has, X-Wing toys, which we'll get to. But, that's why they keep introducing these other things. And we haven't even mentioned the creepiest one, which is the first thing, where, pervert grandpa pulls a single off the rack, and then you're just watching Cirque du Soleil for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's just a bunch of dudes in tights gyrating for this child, and he's like, and the camera keeps panning to his smiling face as these French Canadian perverts are thrusting at him.
In my notes, I refer to it as, and I quote, Cirque du Soleil, and then I wrote down, seriously, what the fuck?
Listen,
And it just-
I've seen those acts at the Renfest, and they're delightful. Okay, I was clapping right along. Even though I got to tell you, the look of it had a very Jim Henson Muppet Theater look about it. And so, and I thought about it, it reminded me, it was very reminiscent of in Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And so even the costuming of the jugglers and stuff, and I thought, you know what, I wonder if this is the same group. If it was kind of like a group of folks that did this kind of shtick, and they just used him for multiple movies within the late 70s, early 80s.
Well, George Lucas produced Labyrinth, so it wouldn't be surprising.
But I will add to that, I wish they had made their costumes 30% more Labyrinth then,
Yeah.
because otherwise he's just wearing, a green leotard with face paint.
30%
Right,
more
and-
bulging crotch, is that it?
Or make him look like a fucking alien. We're in Star Wars. Give him head ridges and a thing. Because he's not doing anything crazy. It's not like he's doing flips and shit. He's just seducing the child. Because you get a lot of this.
He's the ringmaster. He's not supposed to have an act. He's running all the other acts.
Then he should be wearing shit on his face. Then he should have a crazier costume. That's it.
He has,
Although-
he has a
before
megaphone.
then-
He has a part of a fucking record player or something.
But right before this, Lumpy is walking. Can we talk about this for a second? Where he's walking the house on the beam on the
Oh,
railing.
yes. And on
Yeah,
Cash
he's
It,
walking.
or
I'm like,
she-
is he? I'm like, I literally was like, is he gonna fall on purpose? What? I mean, the way anyone else thought that,
He's
the way
going to
he
kill
walked.
himself because Daddy didn't show
Yes,
up for
because
Christmas.
his daddy didn't show up. I was like,
Well,
what the
and
fuck?
it doesn't help the fact that the treehouse is a cartoon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just a matte painting, a shitty matte painting,
Yes.
and then everything else is just blackness. So it's as though he's about to fall into a Twilight Zone episode because he's like, and then there's nothing. The scene just cuts. It's bad cropping, but it just makes like we mentioned that George Lucas disavowed this, but this must have also been filmed by like a third-tier DP, right? Like no one knew what they were doing. Nothing is in frame, and it's just essentially a put-upon wife vacuuming a home and a child about to kill themselves. I have a 10-month-old at home.
I mean, that is
They're
life
about
day.
to commit suicide.
It's life
Like,
day. I mean, we all have those life days, right?
Well,
I mean,
I'm
you
just
know,
really
then your
enjoying.
dad's talking about how the Empire is actually improving things, and you can't even look at your uncle because he's talking about how Wookiees deserve to be in camps, and it's very awkward for everyone
Those
involved.
walking carpets, which I believe is the racial slur to refer to Wookiees.
Why
in the-
blonde hairy face? Like,
Meanwhile,
why
everyone else is just watching the pod races, and no one can talk to
That's
each
true.
other because the pod races are on TV.
I'm just kind of a fan now of the idea of Itchy going into the Twilight Zone, or Lumpy rather.
But there's something on the wing.
Yeah.
So after Mala tries to attempt to make this meal, it totally fails, right? The trader arrives back at the house for Life Day, and he's giving out presents.
Right.
All right, and that's when he gives out the virtual reality fantasy,
The proton pack.
which is very upsetting, obviously.
Yeah,
for everyone at the
Proton
table.
Pack, by the way.
I know what
7
you want.
years
He
before
says, I know what
Ghostbusters.
you want.
Mhm.
It's what-
We were desperately trying to pay attention to something you can't pay attention to,
Yeah.
and when they said Proton back, Zach said, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Yes! Where did this?" Dan Aykroyd loves Crystal Skull vodka in the Star Wars Christmas special. Sorry, go ahead, Miss.
That's all right. No, and
Dead
so
mom.
so of course we're playing with toys. We're he gives Mala a box with Jefferson Starship in it. 'Cause why
Right.
not?
As you do.
I
Famous.
thought it was a
Yeah.
sewing machine.
Van.
When he first showed, that's what it looked like, was a Singer sewing box, and I was like, oh my god, if this bitch got a sewing machine, I was like, I'm fucking leaving. I was like, I can't. She's already having to make dinner. She's vacuuming. She's like,
At least she gets to get
sad.
tag team by
I know,
Jefferson
right? I
Starship.
was like, please, can
And then
something
there's
cool
short
happen
terms
to her?
at the door. Then there's
Yeah,
short terms.
you hear the roaring of a ship outside, so we're all very excited. We think Chewie and Han are home. We run to the door, only to find 2 stormtrooper officers who force their way into the house, and they're searching for Chewbacca.
Yeah, because a couple have been shaking down the trader earlier,
Yeah.
and I guess they followed him in.
Do you know
Well-
what?
Well, maybe it's because she broke radio fucking silence. Okay, Mala shouldn't have been fucking calling Luke fucking Skywalker.
Come on, Mom.
And
You
everything-
know-
I mean, she broke radio silence. She is the reason they are there.
You know what would have
I-
worked for this?
Fucking Mala.
Do you know what would have worked for this special is
What?
if the Star Wars characters somehow got access to Earth Entertainment, I don't know, through that interdimensional cable thing from Rick and Morty, and they were watching disco acts. So Donna Summer comes on and sings a song.
Right.
The actual Julia Child shows up instead of Harvey Korman playing Julia Child.
I mean, obviously you've seen Gilligan's Island. Oh, those poor people.
The Harlem Globetrotters show up. Why the hell not?
Dude, could you imagine?
Oh, fuck.
Batman
Why
comes
were
up,
they there?
zoinks! Oh my god. I mean, well, first of all that we're saying could exist in this world because this is already nonsense.
That's true.
But I love the idea that he's like, shut up, Chewbacca's wife. They'll be coming. Trust me.
Exactly.
And he doesn't blink. The poor man doesn't know what he's looking at. No one saw a script, and he's about to be turned into the worst cartoon that's ever happened to people
True.
since Schoolhouse Rock. So,
So the trader attempts to distract folks with food and with Mala's video box, which, like I said earlier, features Jefferson's Starship. Which, by the way, they threw a chair at me at Dragon Con. Let me tell you the story. So it was our very first year of LDOD performing at Dragon Con. It was 2001, I think. And the head singer of Jefferson Starship lost their wallet. They were convinced that we had stolen it. P.S. We had just gotten there, so no one had taken their wallet. They were pissed drunk. They got mad, and they threw a chair at us.
Nice.
And then they left their drum set on the stage. And so we did the entire show with their drum set in the center of our fucking stage. And I have a video of it. And that is all. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, so
Did you
don't
find
to my
his
TED
wallet?
Talk.
Wait,
So
did you
don't
find his
tweet
wallet?
this
I need to know.
episode
I'm
at Jefferson
sure
Starship
not.
and hope
I'm sure
they
it's
retweet
beside
it.
some roadie's fucking puss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
some sad old mama from the back
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the thing. So Matt, this is note to you. Don't tag anyone we've talked about. I know on Twitter you tag everyone. Don't tag Jefferson.
Okay,
Aren't like
No.
because Catherine Mary Stewart like some of the stuff.
Do
on
not
Last
tag
Starfighter.
them. It's just a story y'all need to know as a backstory. Do not tag them in.
I thought the lead singer of Jefferson Starship was Grace Slick. Was she just long gone by then?
I think Grace Slick was not at that Dragon Con show. She might have been. It was a man. It was a man who threw a chair at us.
Grace Dry was there.
Exactly. So,
The non-union Mexican equivalent. Okay.
Yeah. Don't tag him. You're thinking about tagging him. Mark Hamill? You're thinking about tagging? Well, first of all, you can tag Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill and LeVar Burton can do no wrong by my book. They are charming, wonderful men.
So after the music ends from Jefferson Starship, they head. The officers head up. They head up to Mala, and they keep Lumpy busy while they search his room. So Lumpy and the viewing audience gets to watch his view screen and watch a cartoon of his father's many adventures.
Why does that exist within the context of this universe?
Exactly.
Who's making that cartoon?
Who is making that cartoon? Because at first I was like, is this live? Is he watching what's happening to them right now? No.
That would have been more
It's
interesting.
some it's like some rebellion propaganda bullshit where they're like, join the rebellion, look how bad it is.
Or Imperial propaganda, because Boba Fett is so much nicer than he really is. Hello, friend.
I will
I
say,
am not a friend of the Empire.
I will plug a book that I read this year called Set Phasers to Stun, which is about the history of Star Trek. It's excellent. But Gene Roddenberry believed that in the Star Trek universe, people would be watching Star Trek stories. And that's all I can think about this whole time. Like, the idea that the rebellion would be making shitty Rick and Morty knockoff cartoons. Like, there's a robot chicken in the Star Wars universe where they're making fun of how that stormtroopers can't shoot straight. Because that's all this is. It's just, it's a jib jab of Mark Hamill saying, you know what, we better save Han Solo. Why is he hanging upside down? And that turns into a mystery we have to solve in 8.5 minutes because this is nonsense and this is a world that we live in right now. Thanks, Disney.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure the rebellion, even at their poorest, could come up with the equivalent of like victory through air power.
Yeah, right?
You think?
Yes.
I mean, I like the
1943 Disney classic.
Or De Fuhrer's Face. If you have not watched De Fuhrer's
Emperor's Face.
Why not?
Darth Vader's face. You know, this powerful dude, he's really ugly as shit.
It hit the charts. If you don't know what I'm looking at, Google it or YouTube it. Leonard Maltin does the introduction, but it won a Grammy for the song, I think.
I think it did, and I think that was nominated for like Best Short at the Oscars that
year. And
year.
I think it won. It was a Disney Academy Award. But just know that it's the worst cartoon that's ever happened. It has like 7 frames a second, and it looks like it's a cardboard cutout flying through space.
To be fair, first, apparently the cartoon is the only thing anyone involved in this likes.
Oh, it's great, but it's cheap. It's great, but cheap.
Mark Hamill or Han Solo, Luke Skywalker looks like his face is melting.
The Wookiees' costumes compared to Chewbacca.
Yeah, they look like
Here's
dogs.
the deal. You don't have to compare what the art of the time was. This was like, I want you to think about heavy metal.
I'm aroused already.
This is an absolute parody of heavy metal art.
It's another Canadian animation company, so it's the same people.
You're more merciful than I am. My first thing came to mind was the Hair Bear Bunch.
Actually, what I thought when I saw this, honestly, was Schoolhouse Rock. Right? It's solid colored backgrounds, solid colored figures, and a song could break out at any second. Like that. And I will say, though, again, it introduces us to Boba Fett. It's not a bad story. Things work out. And it turns out in the Disney-verse version of Star Wars, that's what we want. Little stories that things happen in. I would watch this cartoon show much more than, like 75 episodes.
Essentially, you're here for episodic adventures.
If that's all this was, it would be better.
Well, it's supposed to be variety shows, so that would have made more sense.
It's true. So after he finishes watching this adventure, they then decide that they have to go to the living room to the view screens because it's announced that Tatooine is being put under a curfew because of submersive forces. And the video is now announcing required viewing and it features Beatrice Arthur. The requiring viewing, and I love it because when he first pops up on the screen, all I can think of is attention Bajoran workers, which if you're a DS9 fan, you would totally get that. R.I.P. Kai Wynn, by the way. That's really sad. She passed away today. So I love it because they do this intro about the reason why you're watching the people on Tatooine is so you can feel better about your life. They literally say that. It's the most Schadenfreude bullshit ever, and I love it. And that's why it takes us into the cantina, which I would argue is the second best scene of the whole movie. And that is not because I love Beatrice Arthur so much, which I do. We are very kindred spirits. But because for the first time, you're seeing all of the really great practicals that were used in the movie for the canteen that were only there for a few seconds. And these are really great monster costumes that you never get to see again. I mean, they were probably in the back of a warehouse. They were like, oh, shit, we stole those aliens, put them on people. And now we have a beautiful, nice, slow, like 12-minute scene where those of us who are fans and cosplayers can sit there and enjoy each one of these factions and go, okay, obviously, that's, a Thorian, that's, this, that, and the I mean, like...
keep going. You know them all, don't you?
Of course I know them all.
Of course you do.
There's the Biff, which is the band, right?
Yes, I love the Biff. Yeah.
Big Fortuna. Yeah.
Love the band.
Playing jizz music.
Even her song is like an ode to the...
Like
Now,
sad.
It is.
It sounded more like ragtime to me than jazz, like you were saying.
No, it's not jazz. It's jizz. And I know that sounds gross, but they called it jizz music. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to Candace's point, something I really do love about this is there's people in fucking costumes, right? Like, and Mustishman, who doesn't have a mask on his stormtrooper, like, the penis hat. I mean, he looks like Darth Helmet for most of this.
Yeah.
But at least it's actually a thing with light reflecting. I'm sorry, it looks better than a lot of the shit that's going on.
I hate CGI. I love practicals. I'm the queen of practicals. So as soon as I saw this, I was like, give it to me.
So you're saying you're not putting on your Oculus and masturbating like Lumpy was or whatever was going on there?
I do not own an Oculus. I just get my dick the old-fashioned way.
I had to look up the
Jerk
budget
off
for this,
manually.
by the way. I was just interested. It was $1 million.
Wow.
What?
Which for
In 78?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's all gas prices in 78.
For 78, that's a decent amount.
Dude, that's a lot.
Right? That's probably
Yeah.
what, 4 million, 5 million now?
Yeah.
I would guess that the whole, like, the first Star Wars movie cost like $15 million, and that's a movie. This is made for TV nonsense. So I would guess, like, that's a chunk of change. Right? And I would guess that went into all the bits, because I mean, we didn't really talk about it, but like when Harvey Korman's like doing his thing as the Julia Childs, like he has a suit, but there's other puppeteers around him and behind him.
Because obviously, as Whose Line Is It Anyways has taught us, there's nothing funnier than someone else feeding you soup. Than trying to pour things in your mouth or wipe your mouth. That is hilarious. That fucking kills it. It wins every time. Done.
And also, let's not forget that this is the 70s and they weren't afraid of anything.
No.
Because we do see him break an animal in half and put raw meat in there. So that ladle's just rubbing on raw beef or whatever that is and rubbing all over his face. So I'm sure he got E. coli immediately.
It's not rubbing. It's stirring and whipping and beating on this raw meat.
Sure.
Yeah, whip that meat.
We've all been there.
Sure, feet.
That Wookiee whooping its meat.
All right, so smash cut. Eventually, as they ransack Lumpy's room,
They do.
and they break one of his toys, which becomes a whole thing. But he has these wooden.
It's a bantha. It's a stuffed bantha, and they rip its head off, which is wrong and upsetting. And then I thought about the fact that the banthas in the movie, it was probably one of the actual props. You know what I mean? Because think about it, it would have been done to scale. And then that upset
But this is before Bantha's. No, this is after Bantha's were a thing.
Yeah.
But they weren't. Yeah, so you could destroy it.
This movie.
No, I'm not saying you should, but I bet you that's what it was. You're right. I hadn't thought of that.
That Stormtrooper must be in a bad mood. He has to go out and patrol on a holiday, so he's just taken out of a little kid.
Well, I mean,
it's not a holiday he celebrates.
He doesn't celebrate Life Day. I mean, he has friends that do, though.
Maybe he's like one of those people.
I've been to a Life Day Passover
so the
Seder.
Empire does not celebrate Life Day, is that right?
it is solely a Wookiee holiday.
Okay.
Now,
I mean, it's like you have.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're Gentiles here. It's that one Jewish friend you're trying to get home for Yom Kippur,
It's
right?
true.
Like,
It's
that's
true.
what it is. Like,
You don't know
worry, buddy, I'll
exactly
make
how
sure
it
you-
works, but you know it's important.
Are you telling me-
I'll get you home for Hanukkah, I think it is.
Are you telling me that every single one of Chewbacca's lines throughout the trilogy was Oi Gewalt?
Could you imagine, like, a Yiddishy, like, put upon, like, the rebellion? Like, that would be, better movie.
Mandalorian just made Life Day in a canon.
So,
Mandalorian
yeah.
on Netflix just disgusting.
Maybe for the Empire, it's just an excuse to get drunk. Cinco de Wookiee.
oh, there you go. I'd celebrate Cinco de Wookiee.
St. Wookiees Day. We dye the river green respectfully.
We dye the river with ground up Wookiees, respectfully.
We clog all the showers with a lot of matted hair in honor of the Wookiees.
So gross. So,
Like, that's what I was just thinking.
Everyone was on drugs. That's what we're watching.
yeah, and so after B. Arthur's song, because he's trying to get everybody else for last call.
Thank you.
Lumpy uses his opportunity to put his plan into motion. He fakes a repeated call to the Empires to return to base, so they leave. But one stormtrooper stays behind and realizes they were tricked. He finds Lumpy.
I thought it was Chewie disguise for a minute there.
Yeah, he finds Lumpy and destroys the machine and then chases Lumpy outside. And then that's when Han and Chewie arrive just in time to save Lumpy. And he falls to his death on a banister, which is not very sturdy, that he was walking on fucking earlier. So I'm not saying that Lumpy compromised that banister, but that banister is not meant for walking on. That's all I'm going to say.
This banister's for regular walking, not fancy walking.
I do wish, though, that this had a live studio audience so that when Han Solo showed up, it was like,
We can do it now.
because the way that he shows up, it's almost as though he expected applause because he thrusts through. Like, it's almost a Spaceballs scene when he shows up. It's amazing.
He was hot. So was Mark Hamill.
First of all,
They were hot.
100%. A 1978 Harrison Ford is a smoke show.
That is not hot whatsoever. And neither is Luke. Is the whiniest, weakest, saddest thing I've ever seen.
When I teach film study 101, I always show that scene with the two suns setting because it's perfect. Like it's a one good scene that George Lucas directed.
It's a good shot.
Wait,
Because
the
you get
one scene?
the scene where he argues with his aunt and uncle. He steps outside.
No, I was saying that's the one good scene George Lucas has directed.
I would say it's the best scene he ever directed.
Okay, the best, yeah. Okay.
I mean, I like THX 1138, but like that scene is a masterpiece. But like, otherwise, Luke is literally like what Cartman complaining. He's just like,
But man, I want to go to the Chotzi station and pick some paraconverters and cheesy poofs.
and until the
friends
very
got it.
end of New Hope, where like he blows up the Death Star, and he's like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna get an award." Well, Harrison Ford is railing Princess Leia behind him, practically hear the headboard slapping, and he's like, "Oh boy, I'm gonna have a chance with the princess." No, you're not, buddy. You're a loser, and you've complained for 2 hours.
And you're her brother, which you don't know yet.
He doesn't know it. They hadn't written it.
They hadn't written it that.
No,
That's why
eventually-
John Williams wrote Luke and Leia's theme as a love song.
That's
Because
right.
no one had told him. So it wasn't until the second movie when John Williams went to watch it, he was horrified because he had written it with the impression of them it being a love
They're
song.
going to hook up. Yeah, and in fact, by the end of the first 3 drafts of Empire had them as not related, and there was when Yoda says there's another, there was literally a third person that was supposed to show up, but Lucas was like, we can't do a 4th movie. It's already ruined a marriage, nearly bankrupted me. We got to end it at a trilogy. So he's like, they're fucking related. Who cares? And now he's worth $1.6 billion. So don't worry about George Lucas.
I think he's worth
fine.
even more
Exactly.
than that now.
So
He
now
sold
that
it to us.
stormtrooper fell to his death, Chewie and Han are home. Dangers averted. The family prepares to go to the festival at the Great Tree of Life.
Where they're all dressed like those cultists who castrated themselves and killed themselves to
they're
ride a
holding-
comet to heaven.
They're holding their glowing orbs, and they appear in their classic space-wearing red robes, which I gotta say is very Gallifreyan of them.
I love
right.
what Matt just implied, that Marshall Applewhite and the Heaven's Gate cult was inspired by the Star Wars holiday special.
Based on the fact that they were all sci-fi fantasy people, I believe it.
I mean, we're not saying they weren't.
Could you imagine killing yourself because of the Star Wars holiday special?
Actually, yes, I can.
St. Peter at the gate's like, you got to try harder, buddy. I'm gonna let you try again. But you just can't watch Doctor Who or Rick and Morty because you're just going to be back here in 6 months. It's going to be awkward for everyone.
It's true. So the Wookiees walk into the bright star and arrive at the Tree of Life. Gathered there are also, which by the way is the throne room. And you can even hear the theme of the throne room. And I was like, great, is Chewie going to finally get his medal? P.S. He doesn't. They're gathered, including C-3PO, R2-D2, Luke, Leia, Han. Everyone's there. Because that's what you do in a holiday special. Everybody's got to be there at the end. And then Leia gives a short speech and sings her song in celebration, the Life Day song.
And
Carrie
Carrie
Fisher
Fisher
was
high.
Proceed with her music career, which is why
That's right.
the only reason she did this special was because she wanted a song.
Oh, like mother, like daughter.
Right.
Yeah. And then Linus shows up at the end with a blanket over his head and reads from the Gospel of Luke, and then we're out.
Doesn't anyone know what Life Day is all about?
Exactly.
And then Captain Planet shows up and it says, Life Day is about killing bitches who pollute. It just starts blasting.
And I wasn't even upset about the robes, the globes, or the Life Day song, but the fact that then Chewie has this fucking montage of all of the movie that he'd already just been in, and it's adventures during the original film, because they're like, hey, you know what people love? That original movie.
There is so much
They're like,
B-roll
put
and
that
reused footage
shit
from the
in
original.
there.
It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was very creepy because it paused on his face and it showed like things that happened in his face again. I was like, did Chewie die? What's happening? But he didn't, because now the family's around the table, they bow their heads, and it's time for Life Day.
So
The
are
end.
Wookiees
Cut credits.
monotheistic, polytheistic? What's their religion?
Life.
Okay.
I do like the idea, though, like, just the reverse to what Candace said. What if the most, profitable movie every year had to do a Christmas special? Like, there's an Avatar Christmas special. There was an Avengers Endgame Christmas special. I love this idea. And at the end, we just have to watch Tony Stark die as though he's the baby Jesus. I don't know what any of this is, because, again, a year before, an almost indie film for Fox makes a masterpiece, and they're like, you know what this needs? A dreidel.
Old Captain America serving Thanos like a turkey.
Instead of that one scene where they're all getting doner kebab or whatever,
Shawarma.
Shawarma, excuse me. They're having a Thanksgiving and they're talking about the first Thanksgiving. That's what we're talking about here.
They were the real superheroes, the Pilgrims.
And then Gandalf shows. And then Gandalf shows up in a red robe this time, and he's like, "I would like to give you presents, hobbits."
Gandalf the Red, also known as Santa Claus.
They could have this in active contracts where they had to do a holiday special.
George Lucas doing blow in the background was like, "I don't care, guys, just do whatever." This is the worst thing that has come out of a good special. The worst Star Trek movie is better than this. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
And again, Last Jedi was, the Last Skywalker, whatever. What was the
Rise
ninth
of
one?
Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker is dog shit, but it's better than this.
I'll defend Rise of Skywalker. I mean,
I'll
it's not
fight you over that.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
it's not
God.
perfect. It's got a lot of mistakes, but it's not one of the worst things ever.
No, I'm
Yeah,
saying
this is the worst
it's
thing
better
ever.
than this.
It's better than this.
It's
not by
better
much.
than this.
Not by much.
There's so many things that are better than this. Dysentery is better than this.
True.
The
So,
Star
I mean,
Wars
do
holiday.
you want to go around the horn, Matt? How much did you hate this?
This, I suspect, is probably the worst movie we have done for Myopia ever. And I've been here from the beginning. 10 years, people. This sucked.
Yeah.
Oh boy, and Matt's saying that. I mean, I think he was the one who recommended Spawn back in the day.
Spawn was better than this. At least John Leguizamo was
Spawn is
funny.
Shakespeare compared to this.
At least John Leguizamo was almost hilarious.
No, he's not.
No.
But this is no good. I mean, I get the novelty factor because it's really one of the stupidest things ever broadcast on American television, which, if you know about American television, you know that's saying a lot. this was such a cash-in, and maybe it could have worked if they rewrote the script in order for, B. Arthur to actually make sense in this universe. But they didn't. They just wrote a first draft and went with it and hoped they'd make more money, and that didn't end up happening, which is why you can only see this through bootlegs, which frankly is way more appropriate.
Vinegar syndrome.
Okay, so I'm going to take a slightly different take on this. A little hot take. And that is, this is definitely by far not the worst thing I've ever seen. Ever. All right, I had to riff a movie about a two-headed monster once who went on a raping spree. Okay, so I've seen
My first movie.
I know. So trust me, I've seen some real shit, okay? I've seen horrible things. But that being said, is this bizarre? Yes. But is this the 70s? Yes. So if you were someone watching this for the first time in 1978, would this have been great? Yeah. Because you had no access to any other Star Wars stuff. The only thing else that was even similar to this was the Donnie and Marie disco Star Wars extravaganza. Okay.
The Carpenters had a sci-fi themed variety show back in the day.
Absolutely. Well, and even in the movie, which I love, with Bill Murray, Scrooged, where he's putting on a holiday variety show, and they have solid gold dancers, and they've got a kid doing this and there. I mean, like, he's doing all the tropes of what you would have seen in a holiday special. So I gotta say, is it the worst thing ever? No, it's not. Is it incredibly dated and strange? Absolutely. But, there's something kind of funny and endearing about it. I think that it's fine in that it's, is it something you're going to watch all the time? Absolutely not. Is it just as bad as those Ewok movies? Yeah, it is.
We'll be
not
there
that not that they're much better. So in a time where there was a Star Wars drought, this was just enough water to live.
So, as a Star Wars fan, like I said, I was scared to watch this. I literally had heard such horror stories from everyone else about how bad this was.
It's true, all of it.
Refusing to watch it, until Nick finally made me. So, I learned that everything everyone said was true.
Mm-hmm. Just like Harrison Ford said, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Is it weird? Is it awful? Yes, but I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I have the experience now. It is what it is. I think it's very perfect for the time. And even, Mark Hamill talks about how this was proof of how infallible they were at the time. Mm-hmm. That they could do no wrong. That everyone was just Star Wars crazy and Star Wars mad that they would do anything. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, this was, the whole time I was going, what the fuck is this? But it was quite an experience. I'm glad to finally have seen it as a Star Wars fan.
I don't know how to feel about this at the end of the day because, like, Star Wars immediately became like a cult. Not in a bad way, like
Orange Theory kind of cult,
No, healthy. Oh. It's not Lululemon. You're not going to murder for it. No. It's designed to offer people hope, but like
rebellions are built on hope.
I will say you're right, but this is like it was translated by Google Translate. You take away because you get all the notes right, but you get everything wrong about the emotion. That's the problem with this. Because like with Star Wars, there's supposed to be like it's very anti-government. It's very Vietnam is wrong. It's this idea that hope should be stronger than a big body. It's the opposite of Star Trek. Star Trek is utopia fixing the problems. This is supposed to be there are issues in the world that we need to fight for. And this is the most mediocre version of it I've ever seen. This is the weird, like, a Where's Waldo becomes a drama on Netflix. It's like, you know what they're doing? They're trying to find people, but finding people is not like a creepypasta. It's like a real thing that should matter. And getting home for Christmas. Because again, we did Plane, Trains, and Automobiles a few years ago. That's what this should be.
It was the first time I'd watched it was with you. I was on this couch and I was crying. Daniel helped me. I was crying so hard because when I realized his wife was dead, that was it. I lost my shit.
And that's all you need. You just need the emotion of someone trying to get home, and they fuck it up every step of the way. This is like when cocaine goes bad. You're like, how can that happen?
I think this is when cocaine goes absolutely correctly.
Yeah.
So thin.
Anyway, so like, I'm sure there's something filmic I could say, but at the end of the day, like Candace keeps bringing back, this was just on TV. Like, we forget that the Christmas special with Peanuts, like Charlie Brown Christmas, is a miracle. They had kid actors who couldn't act. They had a score that Charles Schultz hated, and it just all came together. This was just what could have been the Christmas special for the Peanuts. It just, nothing lined up. Like, that's the thing about it. Nothing worked. So I would say the opposite of what everyone else has said. You should see this, but you just have to have a lot of people with eggnog. Like, because this is fun to watch with people. If you're watching this alone, there's a suicide on Christmas. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is a sad day.
You're walking that beam, lumpy style.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, so as we're doing this, because my beautiful friend Candace brought it up, next week we're doing Ewok Adventures, the Battle for Endor.
What?
Just so we can have Wilford Brimley in the Star Wars universe. But we have ended I appreciate you being here for the entirety of our December month, where we went from Willow, also almost a Star Wars movie, to Lord of the Rings Fellowship and Two Towers, with an interlude with our great late friend Robin Williams with Toys. We're going to start January, though, making sure you don't believe anything, because we're doing X-Files Fight the Future, followed by I Want to Believe. So stay tuned next week when we, goddammit, visit Ewok, an Ewok planet. And thanks, guys.
Bye.
Season 9 of Myopia Movies is produced by Nick Hoffman and Daniel Suttis. It is hosted by Nick Hoffman and stars Daniel Suttis and Matt Quinn. The theme music is Surf Shimmy by Kevin MacLeod of Incomtech.com and is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and review us wherever podcasts are found. Thanks, guys.